tinfoil hat.
Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
And welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know who I am. You know what I'm here to do. Joining me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only XG in the place to be. There we go. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is going to be a very special episode. We're super excited for everybody that's going to be on. Real quick, we have some great things going on at the show. We have a huge show coming up this tomorrow night at the Comedy Store. It is Comedy Chaos live at the Comedy Store. The lineup is pure, nothing but killers. Bert Kreischer, Brian Callen, Brandon Schaub, Ian Bagg, Tony Baker, and Tony Hinchcliffe. Those tickets are only $25. That will sell out. Grab those tickets now. And guess what? And then I'm live at the Dojo of Comedy. Jim Florentine, myself, Joe DeRosa. Just go to Eventbrite.com. Put the Dojo live. Grab those tickets. It's only $10. Buy one ticket, get another one free. Tinfoil Hat is on the road, everybody. We are super excited. Tinfoil Hat is back in Texas, everybody. It's myself, Eddie Bravo, XG. We will be live at Hyenas on the 14th, and then in Dallas, Texas, or Plano, Texas. And then on the 15th, it's myself, Eddie Bravo, XG, and we are at the Secret Group. So grab those now. And then at the end of the month, it is I'm going to be live at Skankfest along with XG, and we are doing Tinfoil Hat and some stand-up at Skankfest in Brooklyn, New York on June 20th through the 23rd. You
Excited.
got any dates coming up?
Nothing yet. No,
Nothing?
Just
Nothing.
waiting for the June, pretty much.
Real quick, I also want to give it up for our good friends at Absolute Extract. Absolute Extract, go to abx.org. They are sponsoring Comedy Chaos. They are the top in CBD oils, flour, vape pens, you name it, go to it. They're sponsoring Comedy Chaos and Tinfoil Hat. We are doing live shows all over the place, and they are helping get us out there. So thank you to abx.org. Go check them out. They love us, so you should show them some love. We also want to give it up for our good friends at Nutsack. Jesus. Nutsack. It's my new bag sponsor. How they get their name? Yes. Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. How they get our names? We were told that we were nuts to manufacture in America. Perfect bags for everyday carry. Okay, I use it. Great. Yeah, I look like I work for the Pony Express, but I like it. Why do women get purses? I have phones. I have pagers, I have beepers, I have everything. I have keys. I can't fit in my skinny jeans I got, so I have to have a bag for it, and they are nice enough. It is made in the USA, high quality materials and craftsmanship. American wax canvas, American leather, American labor. Strong, water resistant. Give us 2 weeks and we'll change your life. We guarantee you will love Nutsack, okay? The other products are garbage. Screw fanny packs. Go with Nutsack. We are not fanny pack nation. We're a Nutsack nation. Our product comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. It's a comfortable bag for the right price. Rugged, durable bag, and it will beat the hell out of it. You can beat the hell of it, okay? And this is all you got to do, my friends, for our listeners here at Tinfoil Hat. Right now, Nutsack is offering our listeners $5 off their first purchase. They can go to buying a beer, doing whatever you want with that $5. To receive the $5 discount, visit Nutsack and drop off the K. It's NUTSAC.com. That's NUTSAC.com. And you drop the K. Remember that, and use the promo code Tinfoil Hat at checkout. It is all capital letters, by the way. So check them out. We're very thankful that they sponsor the show. And go to T-shirts, man. New T-shirts every day. Go to tinfoilhattshirts.com. New T-shirts. It's a great way to support the show. And everybody's loving Conspiracy Now. That's shot at the Comedy Store, and you can get that on the Patreon. Just go to patreon.com, tinfoil hat, and that's the business. Today's a very special show. Joining us in studio, you know him, you love him. Back for a special episode. I thought you guys would all enjoy it. And our guest today is one of his favorite guests, so I thought I'd bring him back. Please welcome from Off the Grid, Ryan Davis. How are you, buddy?
Wei Zhang.
Well, yeah, welcome back, my friend. Today's a special episode. It's a big name that we've been trying to get. And when we booked him, I thought, this would be a great time to have you come back, say hi, let everybody know you haven't gone any more crazy than you normally are, and yet you are alive. The hair's still looking good.
Yeah, and you were kind enough to let me plug something very close to my heart. My friend had a kidney transplant back in 1999, and I don't know if you know this, kidneys don't last forever.
Mine's shot.
Yeah, you might need one too, so we might need to go GoFundMe soon. But if you're interested in becoming a donor, please go to lisaskidney.com. That's lisaskidney.com. Fill out the questionnaire. Apparently, I am not a universal donor, so that's why I'm here. I love it, Sam. Thanks for letting me spread the message.
Yeah.
So go to lisaskidney.com. You could help save a life.
Save a life, people. Save a life. So with the business out of the way, the reunion's over. The feelings are gone. It's time to get some business. He's been quietly listening to us with our sponsor's Nutsack, which you seem to enjoy. With over 35 years of investigative journalism, piecing together the bigger picture, today's guest is the brilliant mind behind lightsonconspiracies.com. It's an honor and a long time coming. Please welcome Ole Dammegard to Tinfoil Hat. Thank you for coming on, Ole. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I really want a nutsack as well.
It might cost extra to ship it to Spain.
We'll take care of that. I'll get you a nutsack, bro. If anyone deserves a nutsack, it's you, my friend.
Oh, me not. I'm not going to use it.
You have balls, my friend. You have balls doing what you're doing. You are one of the big names in the truth community. I don't like to call it conspiracies. I prefer the unreported history, and you are constantly shedding light on those things that go unreported, and I think you're very important. So thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure. Absolutely.
So let's get into this because we have a lot to cover. Ryan, where do you want to start? Because Ryan's wanted to get you on for a long time, and then Ryan kind of went off the grid, and he's back. So I decided this was going to be his Christmas present. There you go. So let's get into this.
And before we turned on the mics today, I kind of ran through a little bit what we were going to go over, and Ole actually said he knew nothing about this first topic. So, hey, I'm about to shed on some light for you right now.
Okay, here we go.
Let's start in 1914, June. Sarajevo, the capital of the Austrian-Hungarian province Bosnia. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which led us into the beginning of the First World War, which some would say is the very first false flag in the modern empire, right? So his vehicle, the license plate that he was driving, it said AIII 118, all right? The war ended officially on November 11th, 1918. Armistice Day.
Oh my God.
11/11/18.
The license plate.
Oh my God.
Now, Ole, I know you know something about being right in plain sight. Is this a coincidence or is this consent?
The answer is yes. Maybe. Who knows? Right. But there's but it's like it's very important not to just jump to conclusions. I mean, that is interesting. But another thing that is interesting is that I had a relative who was killed after the Second World War ended because there were all of these people firing their rifles up in the air, and he was hit by one of the bullets coming down. I mean, what can you say? Yeah. What a way to end the war.
Oh man, imagine that, like surviving the war and then you just I always wonder because like they always shoot their guns in the air. I'm like, those bullets are coming down somewhere.
That's just New Year's Eve in Pomona.
Yeah, that's
every day in Mexico though.
Yeah.
Every day they be all the narcs.
Have you do you have any theories on World War I in terms of what the real issue is. Like, we always find out there's always some kind of like Vietnam, Afghanistan. There was all this theory that it was really about poppy fields and going into that, and that there's whole thing about World War I was that it was really about getting the pharmaceutical industry out of Germany to the United States. Have you ever heard any of that, Ole?
I have, but I'm the wrong person to ask. World War One has always been a mystery to me. I never really understood it. What I've seen is that it follows the same, the New World Order agenda from many, many years back. It has been part of that. I know also the grandfather of George Bush Sr. was the one that faked the so-called Zimmerman telegram that got the U.S. involved in the First World War. So we got the Bush dynasty even there. They were involved. But like I said, next question. Ask someone who knows more.
I love that. Thank you.
Well, let's jump down to another assassination that I know you know about. This time in Dallas, Texas, November 22nd, 1963. Perhaps you can answer some questions that me and Sam done an episode a long time ago, and I think you're about to blow his mind. First question. Who was the Babushka lady?
Oh, I love this.
Who? The Babushka lady is a friend of mine, Beverly Oliver.
What? What?
In my opinion.
You know the Babushka lady?
Please expand, Ole, yes. And tell about the yellow paint.
You're in Dallas. You should go and visit her.
Yeah. Can I?
Yeah, I'm sure you can. She's a really nice lady. She's a really good... I'm a very good friend of Judith Berry Baker as well, the mistress of Lee Oswald. I'm the good friend of St. John Hunt, the E. Howard Hunt's son. I'm a friend of Gary Powers, the U-2 pilot's son. What? Okay, but I'll tell you about the yellow paint. If you look surprised, I didn't suspect that. Okay.
There's a lot to come.
No, but the reason I think is why I know these people is because many of the people I'm involved with are either has been part of major historical events, or they're children of former spies or assassins or you name it. And I think we're here, this generation is here to heal all of the crap that they made. Sometimes with good intent, but my God, did they mess it up. And so we're here to sort of clean up and try and get things back in balance. And that is quite a bit of a challenge. Yep. So the Babushka lady, her name is Beverly Oliver. And the yellow paint that you're referring to is that they painted the curbstones in Dealey Plaza. The whole thing was a massive, massive ambush. And they painted what they call the kill zone in yellow, so that the shooter, because there were multiple shooters all around, and since everything was going to be blamed on one shooter, they only had 3 shots, so they couldn't have like boom, 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 boom,
right,
and then say, well, it was the echo. No, they had to have everybody fire at the same place. That was why they had the umbrella man there to mark the exact crossfire point, so that you stand there and when the car passes, fire, shoot blast his head off. That was the order. It was a headshot everybody was aiming for. And so, Beverly ran across the street afterwards, and without noticing, she stepped on this curbstone that was painted yellow, and the color was still fresh, the paint was still fresh. And I've seen the shoes, I've held it myself. There's still yellow paint on it after all of these years.
Oh my God!
Now you just tipped on it. The umbrella man.
Hold on, real quick. So she just happened to be there and didn't know what was going on, and she just became part of history in this kind of mystery that has been solved, but a lot of people don't know it. I mean, she just happened to be there?
Yeah, many people just happened to be there. The president was coming, so they wanted to see the president, and very few people in the area knew that they were going to take him out, except for the people who were involved in the shooting, including George Bush Sr.
So the people we're talking about, for those that aren't indoctrinated in this, hey, this is Next Level 2.0. But what we're talking about is Operation 40. And what that refers to is 40 individuals that were hand-selected throughout multi-nations to become this hits team, like the ultimate action movie besides it being horrible. So 20 of them were support.
Hold
No?
on.
Go. Let me know,
No.
Ollie.
Absolutely not correct. Sorry.
Go.
Nothing
That's what you're here
personal,
for.
But it was not. So it was called Operation 40 because they met in a room. I think the number of the room was 40. They were actually more like 80. And out of these 80 to start, this was just the initial group. There were about 80. More or less all men, and then one woman, Marita Lorenz. And the idea was that Alan Dulles and other people like Wild Bill Harvey approached Dwight Eisenhower with the idea that why don't we create like a mobile unit that can be used anywhere in the world to deal with whatever problem we have, extortion, murder, fires, you name it, we'll set it up. And then whatever the problem is, we got the team players here and we can just put them on a plane, sort out the problem. And so the task was given to President Dwight Eisenhower, who forwarded it to his vice president, Richard Nixon, who then contacted some old wolves in the CIA, E. Howard Hunt, Ted Shackley, and the handler of Lee Harvey Oswald, David Atlee Phillips. Sorry about that. So these three people went down to Miami in Florida, because that was the backyard of the CIA in those days, with J.M. Wade as their headquarters. And what they did was they focused mostly on exiled Cubans that had just escaped from Cuba, because at that point when this was created, Fidel Castro was the so-called devil.
Yeah.
And so who were they going to find who were willing to do horrible acts against Fidel Castro? Well, exiled Cubans would be the thing. So most of them were Americans or exiled Cubans, and these were people from former police, former military, former Air Force, brutal people, many of them, but disciplined as well. The wild bunch, you can easily call them. And so they were recruited down in Florida, and then they were trained down in the Everglades and jungle warfare. They were down in Guatemala as well, and in Lake Pontchartrain, north of New Orleans, north of that Lake Pontchartrain. These were the main training camps where they were sent. And they were trained in everything from bombs to poison to bazookas, mines, you name it. And then 60 of them were more into how to blackmail or threaten or burn down buildings or print propaganda or, forge IDs and passports. But the passports and these things were easy for them because they just used the exact same office that printed the real ones. Oh. They had one office in San Francisco, it was LA, I think it was, where the CIA had one. They had the top floor, and the second floor was where they made all the Secret Service badges and police badges and so on. So they just went one stair down, and said, I need this and this and this. And they got real ones, but with fake names. But they were real badges. They were real, whatever they needed, just go down one stairs. And there was one of the people that were doing that, who was a really good forger, was also Chauncey Holt, who was in the killing of JFK as well, but on the outskirts. He was the guy that supplied all of these Secret Service badges that was used that day. And he's also the one that is called the old tramp of the three tramps that was led off Dealey Plaza afterwards. It was Chauncey Holt, the old guy. Then you had Charles Harrelson, the father of Woody Harrelson, is the tall. He was an assassin down. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many were on the scene that day? Is it about 12 that you've counted so far? Because we know about James Files, the driver for, what was the mob? He was the driver for Nicky Scaletti.
Do you think James Files was really there? Do you think he was there, Ole?
Yeah. 100%. Mm-hmm. I've been in direct contact with him as well. He donated $100 to me after he got out of prison.
What do you think of? That's awesome.
That was bizarre.
Blood money, baby.
But it's very tricky. I think there's a lot more than we think there were, because some people were using silencers. Some people were in hidden positions. I can go through if you want to from left to right,
Yeah.
or right to left.
It sounds like
Okay.
in the movie John Wick. It's just right. It just sounds like
saw
JFK
Newark?
was John Wick, and they just sent a band of assassins to take this guy out, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, this is literally a coup at this point, right? This is a coup.
No, it is a global coup. It is a global coup in that respect that since the US is so important internationally because you interfere with everyone, I would very much like to suggest take your army bases back to where they belong. Not in other
I
countries.
would if I could. Nobody's listening to me.
I know.
You know,
I know,
it's like,
but,
have you seen me on Twitter? I'm laying into everybody. Nobody's listening.
No, I am.
Thank
Some would
you.
say a coup d'etat in slow motion, right?
That my book is called A Coup d'etat in Slow Motion. It refers to the Swedish assassination of Olof Palme.
We'll get
but
there.
that is a global thing as well, because you had these global forces, and George Bush Sr., who pops up everywhere, was directly involved in that hit as well. Oliver North as well, part of it. And but the thing with this thing was that they how shall I say, they marked their territory and they sent a global message out. We can take out anyone at any time, anywhere, so you better back off. Whoever you are, back off. That was the message. Because they could have just slipped a pill in his coffee. Very easy, goodbye JFK, next president in. But here they were showing that they did it in broad daylight in front of everyone. There were even cameras filming it, showing this to the rest of the world. That was the message. And when you look at these type of big hits, there's always a conspiracy of the crime itself, and then it's followed by a conspiracy of silence. There's this silence that just follows. And that is because the people in power positions, most of them corrupted, because otherwise they won't get up to that position. They don't know the details, but they sure know the force. And so it's like, you mess with us, we take you out. That is the general message sent out. So this one, the JFK assassination, if you look at it from an ambush, it is a masterpiece, absolute masterpiece, never been repeated as far as I know. But also they needed to make sure that JFK did not get out alive. That was the thing. They had to have him dead. So they brought in the full cavalry. And they covered every single angle of this Dealey Plaza, which when you go there, it looks big when you look on the movies. It's not. It's a very small little limited area. And so when you do these things, you need to be able to control all parameters. And that was what they were looking for. And they did as well. And one of the major ones they need to control is the outlet of information. So when these type of things happen, the network shuts down, the phone line shuts down, the electricity shuts down. It's the same you will see everywhere. Suddenly the phone doesn't work, it's jammed, and then people afterwards, like in the US, for one complete hour, the phone line nationally in the whole of the US was shut down. And they say, yeah, but everybody was trying to call each other saying, no, it's by design, because they cut it and then they make sure that everybody involved gets away. It's blamed on the patsy. And once that is saying, okay, and action, and then you pump out the official story. So it is very multi-layered. I mean, there's a reason why we're still confused after more than 50 years. So you have to give it to them because they did, from their point of view, an amazing job.
Well, you teased it earlier. Give us the names, because we only know James Files because of Barry Katz's documentary, I Killed JFK, that came out, 2 years ago?
Yeah, did you watch that?
Oh.
We watched that together. Did you know he basically took YouTube videos and just put them all together and told us it was a movie?
You just killed my chance with Barry Katz.
Yeah.
I'm dead in this industry now.
So I just put in James Files and all the videos come up. I'm like, he just put this together and told us it was a movie.
But Ole actually knows these names. The Umbrella Man, let's start. Give us the names.
Okay, no, but I know the guy that interviewed James Files in both. It was Jim Morris. He was there and Wim Dankbaard, Dutch guy, were the ones that approached him. But this whole thing, James Files did not want to come up. He had no interest in coming out open. Absolutely not. He was denying it. It's a long story, but I don't know where to begin. Are you interested in the shooters?
Yeah,
or the
I'm
people
interested in all of it. Whatever you want to do,
Okay.
I'm in, dude.
Yeah,
You
let's
got
go.
me.
What's the umbrella man's
when-
name? I got to know.
Roy Hargraves.
There we go.
Roy
Which one?
Hargraves.
The Umbrella Man.
His,
Talking about the Umbrella Man.
So now he's just named
Okay.
two people that are notoriously mysterious. He just named them. Babushka Lady, Umbrella Man.
That's unbelievable.
The Cuban
Okay.
guy jumping around waving his arms.
Let him go. Go on, Oli. Sorry.
Felipe Vidal Santiago.
Oh my.
His name, and he was this guy that I'm sorry, I forgot your name, Mr. Bearded guy to the right.
That's Ryan.
It's okay.
Ryan. Sorry, Ryan. The guy that goes out in front of the limo waving like that, he is very important because he pops up in many cases afterwards, because the people that were involved in this assassination, they rose like rock stars in the killing business afterwards and were being used. This is the thing. It was called the big event. And people wanted to be there. They knew it was going down. And so you got the whole Dealey Plaza packed with people that were not involved, but were killers. I think either they were there to confuse for someone like myself, or they were just there to see it go down. So Felipe Vidal Santiago, the waving Cuban, who was standing right next to the Umbrella Man, he later went under the name of Charles Morgan. He was a CIA operative. He was very closely associated with Operation 40, as was Roy Hargraves. And his job for many years was to go on location months before a hit was planned or about to take place, and recruit assassins or patsies, recruit patsies for some other job and then paint them black so that they could go down and make it credible. And this Felipe Vidal Santiago, 23 years later, he was in Stockholm trying to recruit a guy that I know as the assassin of the Swedish Prime Minister. So there you go, direct connection from Dealey Plaza, Stockholm, 23 years later. And he's not the only one, because one of the most important things that I haven't mentioned with Operation 40 yet is that they had a paymaster, a young guy who was the guy that funneled the funds into this, because these were black ops, so you couldn't go officially. So there was this guy who funneled the funds. He was not paying himself. That guy's name was George Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush. And
God.
He was the paymaster of Operation 40, and he kept this group so tight around him his whole career. The core elements, he used them all the way to the very end. You got Felix Rodriguez, one of the key people in Operation 40. He was not a key figure in Dealey Plaza, but Felix Rodriguez has been with George Bush Sr. his whole career. He was the one that was ordering the murder of Che Guevara down in Bolivia. The guy that actually killed him, his name was David Sanchez Morales. He was right on the corner of Houston and Elm Street. He's standing up on a light pole looking down at the hit. You can see it on some photos. He was there with one of the escape cars parked on the wrong side of the road, going north on Houston Street. He was parked up against the side of the the Texas School Book Depository. And so when people came running out from the back of the building, he picked three of them up, took off north, and the fourth one, his name was Richard Kane, by the way. He was a police officer, but also hitman for the Chicago mob. And he was staying at the, what's the name of that hotel in Dallas? Come on, memory. I'll get back to it. But he was sharing a room with Sam Giancana, the head of the Chicago mob, who was also there.
Oh.
So, anyway.
This sounds like the assassination version of The Outsiders, right? Where like everybody in the cast went on to do incredible stuff. It's like it's a who's who of who. It's like this is insane. I mean, like this is like the equivalent of stand up where it's like these are all the young guys who all went on to do incredible stuff. It's like
The Assassination Kings of comedy. Right?
yeah, it's so it's unbelievable.
But you have to go back to when it happened. This was a year, just 1 year before the Beatles shocked the world with their haircut. I mean, with that haircut, shocked the world. Just think of how naive people were at that time. Now we're many, many years later, and I'm just pinpointing the individuals that to many people are still unknown. So it's like, it's not that it's out in the open. Well, if you listen to me, it's been out in the open for a long time. But I'm not saying I've got the whole truth and nothing but the truth. I have been tracking these people down and trying to put together a jigsaw in a way that I feel fits. Other people disagree with me, but that doesn't matter because the truth is the truth. And I feel that I'm onto something. Anyway, so if you
love it.
So if we start with the Daltex building, there were shooters in the building, in the county record building. There were shooters there, but since they were not visible at all, I'm not sure. There's one called Ricardo Masferrer, Operation 40. I believe he was on the top of the building, but I'm not sure. Then if we go to the Daltex building, there were shooters up on that building as well, but I don't know who. But on the second floor, there's a fire escape ladder going down. On the second floor, it was a mining office operated by the CIA. And there was a mob guy from California, his task was just to let people in from the back. Hale Braden was his name, Hale Eugene Braden. He opened the door and let the team into that office from the back. The people there were Chucky Nicoletti. He was a hitman from the Chicago mob. And that was James Files, or Jimmy Files, was the driver for Chucky Nicoletti. He was the shooter there. But these teams often consist of 2 or 3 people. They're like a shooter, a spotter, and a breakdown guy. So that is standard. If there's only 2, then it's the shooter spotter, and the spotter also do the breakdown. Meaning he takes care of the weapon, breaks it down, makes sure that there's no empty shells or that the shells that are left there is pointing towards the patsy. Every sign of real truth needs to go, and then you just place the fake one. But in the Daltex building, we had, if I'm correct, Johnny Rosselli, who was the middleman between the mob. He was a former hit guy under Al Capone, but then went to Las Vegas, Los Angeles. He was very flamboyant. He loved the film stars, and so he was the go-between between the mob, the CIA, the celebrities, all of this guy. He was sort of the guy in between. He was in there. He was there. Chucky Nicoletti was the shooter, and Tony Izquierdo from Operation 40 was the spotter. Tony Izquierdo, there's actually a statue of him in Miami today, if you go there. It's
a statue. Why does he have a statue?
He's on the grave of the fallen Cuban soldiers. I mean, they see him as a hero. And this is the thing also, Sam, that the people that carried this out, many of them saw themselves as patriots. They saw JFK as the enemy. So it's like, when people say, well, they're terrorists.
Yeah.
Well, and then you look, who's the terrorist here? The people that invaded the country or overtook the throne, or it's just changed. It depends on who wrote the history books, and it's always the winners, the conquerors. They wrote this history. So who to believe? Many of them hated JFK because they believed that he let them down at the Bay of Pigs invasion, that he did not give them air support, and many of their friends were slaughtered and murdered and tortured, and they blamed JFK. So, and it later turned out that he was not the guy who did it. It was another general. I forgot the name of him now, but it was not JFK. But that was the impression, and they hated him. And if you ask,
have you ever heard the theory that they say about the Federal Reserve? That's all. smoke screen. But the real reason was that JFK wanted to take away Israel's nuclear program, their bombs, and Israel wasn't having that. Have you ever heard any of that theory?
Yeah.
Do you?
It's like when you have a hit on that level, there's not one reason. It's not worth it. For one reason, it's not worth it, because these are complex operations that can cause a lot of blowback. If the real truth comes out, my God, they are in bad shit with it. So it's like you need to have, the cup needs to be full of a lot of different areas. So what they did with JFK was like, if you ask me the reason, you mentioned Israel's that thing. You have the Federal Reserve, that he wanted to take the silver back and the money back to the people. That alone is enough to get anyone chopped the head off. Boom. You stand up against them, chop, chop, chop. He said, I'm going to crush the CIA into 1,000 pieces. He fired Alan Dulles. My God, just to do that. The boss of he was a holy cow. General Cabell, he fired his ass as well. And then
explain who they are, because I honestly don't know who they are.
Okay. They were he was the head of the CIA.
Oh.
The one that Alan Dulles was the creator of the CIA from the OSS, who created the CIA. He was untouchable. And Cabell and what's his name? There were 3 of them that he fired all of them. He said, enough with these black ops, enough of this rotten inner core that we're seeing the result of to this very day. He chopped the head of them. He said, I'm going to withdraw out of Vietnam before then 65. I mean, you're looking at a total disaster for this death and destruction machine that thrives on slaughter and make billions of it,
Yeah.
So the whole military-industrial complex, when he said, we are going out, because the war hadn't even started on the American part. You took over a war, a French war, and the thing wasn't even going. But what people many are not aware of is that it was a drug war to a large extent.
Yep.
It was the Golden Triangle, and how to move tons and tons of drugs from Eastern Asia into the West, and especially into the US, how to do that. Well, let's get some young guys over there, let them get slaughtered. We just rip their bodies open, pack them with drugs, stitch them up, put them in nice body bags.
Oh my God.
That happened in that movie American Gangster.
Yeah.
That was wow.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a movie, but it happened a lot? Like a lot of bodies?
No. I'm telling you, I'm sorry, this is so awful, but I tell you, it's almost, we're at a point in history where the truth is being told in movies and absolute fantasies is being presented in the media. It's so upside down. No, it was a whole long line. You had Air America as well. And also they were making a fortune on bombs and helicopters. The idea is, okay, so for instance, you got a Bell helicopter that is shot down over Vietnam. Is it the Viet Cong that paid for the helicopter to get shot down? No, it's the taxpayers. And where does the money go? To the people manufacturing the helicopters. So the more helicopters shot down, better business. So let's drop how many bombs over absolute innocent people? The more bombs, the taxpayers pay, and where does the money go?
Yeah.
So if you ask pilots, bombing pilots and stuff, they were ordered to drop like tons of bombs in nowhere. They were just, and also many ask generals and people, higher staff people in the military, they would say at so many points where they in a situation where they could have ended the conflict in a major fight and then get it over. We have a winner, we have a loser. No, stop, because they wanted the conflict to go on. Oh. And so who were the key people in Vietnam? The key people in Operation Phoenix, which was a mass extinction program, that means mass slaughter of suspected Viet Congs. Viet Cong just being people that wanted to defend their own country, saying, bugger off, leave us alone. That was Viet Cong terrorists. But anyway, the key people in that mass extinction program was Ted Shackley. the guy from Operation 40, who was later the chief of the chief of COVID operation for the Western Hemisphere. I mean, that is a major player up there. And under him, straight under him, was work. James Files was doing a lot of work right underneath him for many years afterwards. Jimmy Files had been involved in so many. He was down in Chile when Salvador Allende was taken out, on 9/11, 1973, where CIA organized a military coup around him. Key people in that, Operation 40. Key people in the people educating the people down there as torturers, assassins, killers, all of that. Operation 40. Same in El Salvador, same in Nicaragua. It's the same story over and over and over and over again. So this is why I've been dedicating so many years of exposing Operation 40, because when I started finding out about them, very few people had known about them. As far as I know, it was like and for me, it was like, are you kidding? This guy again and again and again? And so that was Deltex, the Deltex building. I have a way of speaking in circles. So we move
hey,
over.
dude, it's amazing.
He's continuing. Let's hear it.
Go on.
Okay, so we go up to the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. Now that building was also controlled by this team because it was I forgot his name, but he was also the creator of the Civil Air Patrol, where Lee Oswald was flying, also Walter Tabinski, who was one of the worst mass serial killers ever in modern times. Who was
what
in
was
the
his
hit team
name
as
again?
well.
One more time.
His name is Walter Tabinski, and very few people know about him, but I'll come to him.
Okay.
But this Frank Sturgis was also in that the Civil Air Patrol. This is how they met and were recruited into these networks. But that was the owner of the Texas School Book Depository. That was also why they transferred Lee Harvey Oswald, who was absolutely innocent and actually a hero. If you've ever seen a hero, that is what Lee Harvey Oswald looks like, because he was trying to stop the assassination, and instead he went down for it. And he knew since July 29th, that is, how many months are that? 63, that's like 5 months before the hit went down, that he was the planned patsy. He knew that they were going to take him out, and still he decided to stay and do everything he could to stop it.
Have you ever heard of the two Oswalds theory? Have you ever heard of that? There was two Oswald?
There were many different Oswalds, because Oswald was like the identity was like a boy band. It was a creation. It was his name, but while he was in Russia, there were lots of Oswalds walking around and doing stuff. J. Edgar Hoover had different operations with individuals called Lee Harvey Oswald. So it's a bizarre world to get into, I tell you that.
So it's like
you called him a hero. You're saying he didn't take a shot? He didn't shoot? Or you think he still shot?
No, he didn't shoot anything.
God, no. No, my God, absolute nothing. But, okay, let me get back to Oswald afterwards, okay? Because he really deserves to be cleared, and his children and all of this stigma that the name Oswald have been, he should be celebrated. There should be a special day called the Lee Harvey Oswald Day. That I tell you. Anyway, I'll get back to him. But the 6th floor, where it said that he was sitting in a window where there was no way, no other shooter have ever been able to repeat the shooting pattern that fast and through at that speed, and also through this birch tree. No, it's not a birch. I don't know the English name of it, but no way you cannot shoot the way he did. And also with a Mannlicher Carcano that was more dangerous to the shooter than to anyone in front of it, and with a scope that was not even adjusted. Anyway, so on that floor we had 3 individuals that was being observed by witnesses down below, and if I'm correct, then one guy, Eladio Del Valle, he was in Operation 40. He was a former agent, a Batista agent in Cuba. Then we had Herminio Diaz Garcia, who was an assassin connected to Operation 40. He's a black guy. And then we have one guy with with glasses, very what do you call the
Rims.
broad rims, black rims. And this guy, if I'm correct, his name is Richard Kane. He was a hit guy for the Chicago mob. He worked under Giancana. He was also a police officer from Chicago. Quite a few of the people that were in the mob were also police officers. In those days, like FBI, CIA, and the mob was sort of like the same thing. You just turned the coin around like this. CIA, mob.
Yeah.
They played all different sides, and they were like freelancers. And so hit guy one day, police officer the next day, and paid by the FBI as an informant. That type of thing. Very confusing. So Eladio del Valle, he was killed with a machete and multiple stab wounds and shot the same day as David Ferry was killed also. Herminio Diaz Garcia, he was later killed in Mexico City, 1974. And then the last guy, Richard Kane, that police officer, or Malcolm Wallace, who was the only fingerprint that's ever been identified up there on the 6th floor. There was one fingerprint, and that belonged to Mac Wallace, who was Lyndon B. Johnson's private hit guy. And he took out at least 8 people for Lyndon Johnson's, including Lyndon's sister.
What?
Isn't that a nice? Yeah. She was an alcoholic, and she was really into men, and she was talking too much. And Lying Lyndon had a very criminal background, super criminal, and he was just about to go down. He was just about to be taken to court that very day when this hit happened. Had JFK not died, he would have been taken to court, and game over for dear Lying Lyndon.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like 9/11 when the day before they talk about all the missing money from the Pentagon, conveniently, and then the next day 9/11 happens, and that all goes away.
Yeah, but where exactly did the plane hit Pentagon?
I'm with you on that one.
In the exact office where they were investigating this. So you always have to look at what happened there, because had anything failed, at least they got rid of that one.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
so
most of the buildings were you had Building 7 and Building 6, both basically accounting offices that they just got rid of any kind of paper trail.
But also Building 7 was the headquarters for the whole operation. That was where the whole thing was done, and where if I'm correct, the whole crew that these buildings were hit with so many different types of technologies you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Because we don't know about, but it's directed energy weapons, controlled demolition, hermothermite, you name it, everything, because they could not fail. And they were preparing this for such a long time. And I believe after that whole thing was done, everybody was taken to Building 7, everybody that had taken part of it, including the controlled demolition, watching it and then celebrating, and then they killed them all because there are witnesses that made it out of that building that said there were dead bodies all over the place. But they also talked about that there were sandwiches and empty glasses and so. So I think poison or gas or whatever. And then that was the reason they had to demolish the whole building, because they got rid of everyone in one go. Boom.
So you're saying that the people who put this together were basically herded into this building and taken out.
Rat party?
Lured into the building. Do you know, like when in the old days when there were pirates, the captain took like 2 pirates with him and a big big whatever with gold and diamonds. They went to an isolated island, a deserted island, and he got the 2 pirates to dig a big hole, big enough for like 2 bodies and this treasure thing, and then go down, take it down, boom, boom, and then he covered the grave and case closed. That's how it's done. if there's more than 2 people with a secret, it's not a secret anymore. So the only way to keep it a secret is get rid of everyone. And how many whistleblowers have you heard about from 9/11? When it comes to that whole thing, and who is in charge of the security or part of the security of these buildings? Marvin Bush. We're back to the Bushes again. You know, it's like the level of criminality that the family is involved in. It's like it makes Adolf Hitler look like a choir boy.
Well, wasn't George Bush Sr. in New York for this event as well? For the Bilderberg Group was having basically a banquet, and guess who the guest of honor was? No, it's not true.
No, he was with the Carlyle Group.
Oh, the Carlyle Group. Correct. My apologies.
Yeah.
And the guest of honor was the Bin Laden family.
This is going to be its own episode. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's got to be.
Yeah. I mean, get me back on whenever you want, but we get off course here.
Yeah. Well, welcome to Tinfoil Hat.
And use this brain, get this info out there so we can make a difference in the world.
For sure.
Anyway, so Richard Kane, I believe, was the last guy on the 6th floor, to the furthest to the left. And this guy was the guy that came out. There were 3 or 4 guys that came out on the back of the Texas School Books Depository right after the shooting happened. 3 of them jumped into the car driven by David Morales, took off. I think they went to the Cabana Motel where they gathered all of them gathered in 2 different places the night before. The Cabana Motel is just Houston Street down and to the left. It's very close, owned by Doris Day, and most of them were gathered that evening there or at the Clint Murchison Ranch.
And so witnesses saw these gentlemen, right? They saw these gentlemen get into a light blue car. That's what witnesses said.
Yeah. And that was Ruth Payne's car. It seems like Ruth Payne, who was a CIA operative, and where she was the owner of a house where Marina was living, the wife of Lee Harvey Oswald at the time. Anyway, so Richard Kane ran. He did not jump into the car, but instead he ran along Houston Street down to Main Street, turned the corner, and then ran down towards what's the name of this hotel? Why do I not? It'll come to me. It's a really beautiful old hotel, and I believe that was where they intended the hit to be. I cannot believe why.
That's fine.
At the hotel. It starts with an A. And so he was there sharing rooms with Richard Kane, the Chicago mobster, who wanted to be there also to see JFK die. Because what I didn't mention before was the reason he was taken out was also because the mob, especially the Chicago mob, helped JFK to get into power through his dad. I mean, the race between Richard Nixon and JFK was so close. It was like only 100,000 votes in total. So not like this landslide thing that people think that he was so popular. Absolutely not. It was so close. And it was with the help of the Chicago mob that got the names of a lot of dead people in the cemeteries and got those into as votes. And then so Giancana was like, great, we got our man in the White House. So he, of course, thought, well, the White House is open for us. What happened after a few years? JFK just turned the page and said, Robert, my dear younger brother, now you start a witch hunt on the mob. Because at that point, nobody knew that the mafia existed. Because J. Edgar Hoover, that the mob had by the balls, literally, not bag, here because they had all of these compromising photos with him and Clyde Tolson, his partner, in homosexual acts, and also he was a cross-dresser. And he was the guy, the head of the G-men. I mean, unreal if that would come out. So the mob had him by the balls. He denied that it even existed until Robert Kennedy said, we're going to track you down and we are going to expose them. And in 1 year, Robert Kennedy got the sentences against mob members up with 700% in 1 year. 700. It went like this. So the mob was like freaking out. What the hell is going on with this guy? I thought we could trust him, and now he turned against them. So the mob was involved. The military-industrial complex was involved. The Secret Service, the CIA. What else?
International bankers.
Well, here's the part we haven't talked about. I wanted to definitely get onto this because this is a part that people don't think about too much or know when it comes to JFK is the Judith Baker SV40 Ruby connection.
That is so important.
Yeah.
But can I just name the last shooters? Okay, I'll just go fast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have, if we go down in front of the Dallas school book, the Texas School Book Depository, Lee Oswald was actually standing in the door opening down in the entrance. There are photos of him, and we've done with facial recognition. Also, there's a guy called Larry Rivera down in Panama who is super good at this, and he definitely totally nailed Oswald down to being standing in the door opening. But I believe that his task was, he was involved with these guys, but trying to stop them. His task was to make sure that nobody would use the elevator. The reason for that was because how did the shooters get down from the 6th floor? There were women going down in the stairs, and they said nobody passed us. So how did they get down there? They were trained in jungle warfare, and they were abseiling inside the elevator, because down on then getting out on the back of the
repelled down like ninjas.
That is my theory, but I stand to this until the day I die. I've been there in the school book depository, and also the electricity. Not only were the phone system shut down, but 1 minute before the shooting started, the electricity in that building was shut off. The reason, because if they were on their way down and the elevator started going up, they could be crushed, so they just cut the power. And I believe that Oswald's task, I'm not sure about this because I don't really know what happened there these few seconds or minutes, but I think his task was to make sure that nobody tried to get into the elevator, because the elevator is right there in the lunchroom where he was seen by this Officer Baker, who came running in with a gun. That, is he working here? And Roy Truly said, yeah, he's one of the employees. So that was his task. And the reason why he wasn't out of breath was because he took like 10 steps up from the entrance up into the lunchroom. And also he was a super cool individual. Lee Oswald was I can't even imagine being so young and then being sent as a spy into Russia, surviving it and getting out. How do you do that? Incredible. So we go down in front of the Texas School Book Depository. It's such an odd layout of this plaza. It's also the location for the first Freemasonic Lodge in Dallas, and the whole architecture of Dealey Plaza is Freemasonic. It's so Freemasonic, all of it. And you look from above, it's a pyramid like this. Boom.
Oh my God.
And also, if you're into the geometrics, they're really into these kind of things, with the pyramid and where the angles. And I tell you, if you go to the triple underpass, which is, you got Dealey Plaza like this, that's Houston Street, Main Street, Commerce Street, and Elm Street, okay? And where's the point of the pyramid? It's right up here. That is where the triple underpass is. If you go exactly to the point of where these streets meet underneath, look towards the Texas School Book Depository. Do you know what you will see? On top of the Daltex building, you will see like this, a glass pyramid, massive big glass pyramid. But what is it? Is it built on the Daltex building? No, it's the Wells Fargo skyscraper. But in that exact angle, you get this glass pyramid. Not by coincidence, I tell you that. If you go and you make Elm Street the bottom of the pyramid, and you look towards the top, you look straight to what is the symbol of Dallas, which is a great obelisk with a fireball on top. It's it's so Freemasonic, the whole setup. And also the grave, the monument, the JFK monument. My God. Anyway, it's in your face as usual.
Yeah.
So we go back down. We go down back on the grassy knoll. You had the umbrella man, Lee Hargraves, who was very closely associated to Operation 40. Then, like I said before, Felipe Vidal Santiago, the waving guy. Right on the other side of the guy is a black guy in a silvery suit. I'm not sure, I cannot prove this, but I do believe that his name was Orlando Bosch, also called Dr. Death. He was a dentist, and he was a specialist in bombs. And he was in Dallas this day, together with his hit team. And he had done, I don't know, in my book, Coup d'etat in slow motion, I've got like 4 pages just of the bombing things that he did, that he was sentenced for. I mean, there are like hundreds of bombs almost on a daily basis. And then he was put in jail, and then he was pardoned by, guess who? Who could pardon Dr. Death?
Nixon.
Lyndon B. Johnson?
George Bush.
Oh, George Bush.
George Bush Senior.
Oh,
George Bush Senior.
Oh my
Yes.
God, dude. It's
And,
unbelievable.
There's another guy who committed I don't know how many atrocities, Luis Posada Carillas, member of Operation 40, and then he was put away, but he was pardoned. Guess by whom?
George Bush Sr.
And by the way, George Bush Jr. went in Dealey Plaza as well. There's a photo taken of him walking straight across the school book depository, right, just like half an hour later. So he was there, being groomed. Nice families. Anyway, so
unbelievable.
In front of Dr. Death, there's one guy that I cannot understand why people cannot see him. It's right, if you look at where the Fremont highway sign is, if you look on the other side of the road, there's this guy in like khaki trousers and with a massive big bulletproof vest on. It's dark brown. It's not discreet. And he raises what is like a shooting stand like this. He's only like 2-3 yards from the limo and fires, and then let the hand go down. You have to understand also that the Zapruder film has been heavily manipulated with the backgrounds. Everything has been moved around, so you can't really measure angles and so on. But if you see, it's a stand like this, and boom, and he lets go of the gun. Boom. His name, Walter Tubinsky. He's also the guy that was filmed or taken photos of when he left the Russian consulate in Mexico City. The guy in the JFK movie where they say, well, the CIA took photos of this guy, and so we got a second. His name is Walter Tubinsky. He lives, if he's still alive, he lives in Toronto. He's been used as a head cleaner for decades, and as far as I know, taken out at least 1,000 people. Wow. I mean, this is a bad boy if I've ever seen. Me and Jim Fetzer have exposed this guy some years ago, trying to save the life of a witness. Anyway, so according to himself, what he told this witness was that he had like a tranquilizer gun. And I believe that the small entry wound in Kennedy's neck that was not powerful enough to go out was this very, very potent tranquilizer gun, because they needed to make sure that he would not just, hide or throw himself down in the seat so they couldn't hit him. So he gets hit right in the throat from like 2 yards away, boom, like this, and Kennedy goes, oh my God, like this. And that's when they start firing in on his head, because he hasn't entered the killing zone yet. The killing zone that was painted yellow starts.
Oh my
starts,
God! Oh my God!
Right
so
at
insane.
that point. And okay, so if we go on the other side, back to the Texas School Book Depository, the grassy knoll side, the next guy, you will see that there is a Chevy white station car that has been reversed up against the wall, They're very strange, these walls, but it's up against the wall. And there's one guy with his elbow up on the roof of the car, shooting like this. Boom. His name, Clyde Forshaw. And he's Walter Dubinsky's cousin and had also been used as a head cleaner. He has killed about 1,000 people as well. There's so many cold cases in the US, in Canada, and I don't know, but at least in these two countries that are there. And this witness that we tried to save her life, I don't know if she's still alive because we haven't heard from her. Name was Haley Otis, and she was her brother's name was Roland Otis. He was the guy that was driving that car, because you will see as soon as the shots are fired, boom, just seconds later the car is gone. They've jumped into the car and they've taken off.
Oh my.
Okay, so then next to him, just a few yards further down, you got what is called Badgeman. You can see it's a black shadow. He's also called Black Cat. The reason why he's a black shadow is because he was in a Dallas, Texas police uniform, which is standard procedure when you do hits. You use uniforms to disguise yourself. And his name was Lucien Sarty. He was a Marseille hitman from the south of France that was taken over there by the mob, because the way they arrange these type of assassinations are that everybody involved has to dip their hands in blood, just like with Caesar. Everybody had to stab him so that nobody can point at the other ones. Everybody is involved. So you have the weird thing with the Secret Service, getting the bubble top off. And also when the shooting starts, I mean, Bill Greer, who was the driver, he should have just stepped on it and got out of there. Yeah. Instead, he does the exact opposite. He comes to 2 stops, actually. It's not only one, but they edited that away. That's why you can see there's a cut, like in the Fremont Highway sign. It jumps like this because they cut away that the car stopped. And then the second one, boom, he's at a standstill. And when you come to Dealey Plaza and you look from, for instance, where Jimmy Files was standing, it's like 5 yards, 8 yards, maybe something like. It's a turkey shoot. You cannot miss if it's not moving. So
he brakes. He uses his directionals. It's insane. Is Jackie Onassis in on it? Is the driver in on it? Like, is he turn around? Like, there's this whole theory that he turns around and takes a shot at JFK.
It's very much looks so. I mean, he's totally in on it when it comes to stopping the car.
Of course.
And also Roy Kellerman, who's in the front seat. Both of them are turning around waiting. So how is that possible? Is it MK Ultra? Were they mind control? Because they were really in a dangerous spot. I mean, there were bullets flying all over the place. Yeah. So how do you get people to do that? Were they being blackmailed? I don't know. And also, when Bill Greer, the driver, turns around, I can very much see what people are saying. And also, when the last headshot is, you have to understand the car was at a standstill. And there were all of these guns aimed at him. So when the last shot, I think it's like that there was multiple shots fired that hit him at the same time, making his whole head explode. Because like Jimmy Files says that he was aiming right at his right eye, and then his head just moved like a fraction of a second before, so he was hit from the back, and then Jimmy Files hit him in here instead of here. He had zeroed in on the eye, and I mean it was so close. But Jimmy Files was using a Remington Fireball, a 223, with special ammunition, because this was a weapon that had been manufactured by Remington together with CIA for special hits. It's like a rifle but with a gun grip. So it's a very small.
It's like one, Nike with sneakers. It's just like every assassin gets their own gun. Now we're putting out the new Jordans this year. It's a double barrel. It's so, oh my God.
But anyway, this weapon was it had proved to be not so good at assassination because the bullet would very easily ricochet off the head of the skull. So that is why Jimmy Files had a guy in Chicago made special ammo for it. It was a guy called Wolfman, and what he did was he drilled the top of the bullets and then filled them with mercury and then put wax on top, meaning that when the impact came, the mercury would just make the projectile explode. So it was underloaded. So meaning because if the power is too big, it can just go straight through. So I don't know what that is in English. I think underload is the name. So you make the power, the powder part less potent, and then the expansion more like that. So Jimmy Files, when he hit, the whole thing blew off. Had he not used that type of ammo, I think we would have seen several different bullet holes, because it was at a point where suddenly it stopped and because also there was, I think, Frank Sturgis down in the sewer in the storm, where the
someone's
water
in the storm drain, like the clown from
Pennywise.
Pennywise. Oh my God.
So you have this bullet coming from below as well, coming from underneath. There's some people that have made incredible dissections of the image scene. So you can see there's this coming from underneath as well. So I think underneath, from the side, from the back at the same time. Boom. And people who say, well, they measured the angle, the front shot must have come, or the bullet, there was a bullet hole in the windshield, that it came, they measured exact angle, and that must have been what hit him in the throat. But we tried shooting in windshields that are that angle. And what happens is that the bullet goes this and then it angles down because of the angle of the glass. It does not go straight through. If it's like this, it goes up. So that does not match at all, because they say, well, that's the exact position the shooter row.
How many shots were fired that day?
I think more than we can guess that, I believe, because there was also a shot fired from the other side of Dealey Plaza, behind a fence there. It's not a picket fence. Well, it was a picket fence in those days. And I think that was Roscoe White, a Dallas police officer, that formerly also very involved around Lee Oswald. They were both at the Air Force Base, super secret Air Force Base in Japan, and they followed each other. Many of them knew Oswald, So,
so did anybody else get hit that day? When in terms of the shots, did anybody else end up get? It's amazing that did anybody in the car actually get hit?
McConnell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, John Connolly.
Yeah. Okay.
John Connolly was sitting right in front of him, and he got hit multiple times. But they managed to explain all of it with the so-called magic bullet, which is an absolute theory.
I mean, we just find this over and over again, whether it's the Building 7. We have our own things out here. We just had these fires where people are trying to tell me that, metal was burned by forest fires, even though the fires the trees didn't burn at all. And we have metal that burns at 2,500 degrees, and forest fires don't get higher than 1,500 degrees. It just makes no sense.
But it does if you go to Lockheed Martin's website. They're bragging about their directed energy weapons that they've been working on for 40 years. You can find the exact things that they're using there.
Man.
So since the game plan was laid out back there in Dallas, which was do the hit, set up a patsy, and kill the patsy, how does Ruby tie in? That's the important part, because I know there's so many people that may or may not have heard some of these things, but the things that people walk away from JFK not knowing that Judith Baker, SV40, and Jack Ruby are something else besides what happened that day. If you can explain that a little bit, Ole.
I think is he frozen? Reconnecting. This is amazing.
Yeah, this one knows everything.
This is it's pretty amazing how it was so elaborate. And it's so funny how We see in modern art, and we just look. They got to him. The lizard people got to him, dude. There was just they knew what was going on. They knew too much. We're hearing too much good stuff.
I was trying to get to it.
I want to thank for a moment our friends at
Go for it.
At Icon for allowing us. There he is. The lizard
There
people
I am.
tried to stop this, but we got it. So we're back. We have our lizard-proof internet connection.
No problem.
Just turn around.
But
There we
I'm
go.
staring. There you go.
There
I
we
see the big guy.
go. There we go.
Okay, so I just want to say Jimmy Files, I think he's a psychopath, but he's a very loyal psychopath, and he was very loyal to Chucky Nicoletti. He adored him, and he was recruited by the CIA as a 19-year-old then in Vietnam. Many of the bad boys are recruited around that age, either at universities or war zones where they prove themselves. And so Jimmy Files' task was only to drive the car down there and filled with weapons. It was a Chevy Impala 63, I think, maroon, and it was packed with guns. He drove them down from Chicago, and the other people drove in different cars, flew in, and so on. It came from all different directions. So it was only just before noon that day that when Chucky said, "Do you want to help me with this thing?" Because I think Rosselli was thought about as a shooter, and he backed out. So Files was the one he just asked him, and Files said, well, I would love to. Because like he says, for him to kill JFK was like taking out the garbage. He had no feelings. He had no whatever. So I trust Jimmy Files. I have not been able to find anything that he said that was not correct. And also, he did not want to step forward voluntarily. It was only, it's a long story, but out of loyalty to a friend, and also because he became religious afterwards, that he stepped forward. And so incredible information about that. That's one part that makes the whole jigsaw come together. And then we had Judith Berry Baker, which until I heard about her, there were all of these thousands of questions that I could not get my head around with. But with Judy, I think she is, more or less one of the most important witnesses in the world. And it's just been her birthday, so happy birthday, Judy.
Happy birthday, Judy.
And
I'm going to send her a
anyway,
nutsack. I'm going to send her a nutsack for her birthday.
Well, she lives in Sweden under a taken name, trying to get a political asylum for 8-9 years, and has been refused it. And she's under constant threat, so that is not good at all. Sweden, shame on you. But Judith Berry Baker was recruited as a 19-year-old. She had one of the highest IQs in Florida, and her grandmother had died of cancer. And this is a real geek when it comes to laboratories and science. She is a real science geek. And because she mourned the loss of her grandmother, she swore that she was going to find a cure for cancer. And what happened was that she managed to get cancer. She had her own laboratory with mice in the basement. And she managed to get cancer grow faster than anyone else in the US. And the local newspapers wrote about her and stuff like that. And in mysterious ways, she got recruited by the CIA without understanding that she was recruited by the CIA, by being offered a job in New Orleans at a hospital where there was a very famous doctor in science called Dr. Alton Oshner, very strange name. And Dr. Alton Oshner was the guy that was the face upwards for the polio vaccine in 1960-61, or the late 50s. What happened there was that they had, it was just like the swine flu, the Ebola, that type of propaganda first. They pumped up and at that point, the public was totally naive. I mean, they had no clue whatsoever. So there were all of these millions of shots of vaccines lined up, polio vaccines, and there were like, do you remember the song?
Makes the medicine go down.
That's the one.
Dick Van Dyke.
That's
Mary Poppins.
That's the one. They had all of that going. And what they had done was that they had taken cancer viruses and grown on the kidneys of monkeys to try and find a vaccine. Anyway, just a few days before the release of this whole thing, where hundreds of millions of Americans and also people in Europe were being planned to get this shot, there was this woman in the laboratory who discovered that, oh my God, the viruses are still alive. In a vaccine, the viruses are supposed to be dead. Otherwise, they will cause the thing that they're supposed to be the healing effect of. Not that I trust vaccines at all nowadays.
Yeah.
But she went up to Alton Ochsner and said, my God, check it out. We need to stop the whole thing. Because they're still alive. And he said, no way, just shut up, and she, if she lost her job, I'm not sure, but the rest of her career was in smithereens, But this rumor came out, and so Alton Ochsner was trying to minimize the blowback by calling for a press conference. And he took out his two grandchildren, I think they were 8 and 10, a boy and a girl, and said, listen, the people think that they're not dangerous, these vaccines, so I'll show you. And he injected both his grandchildren.
Oh my God!
At this press conference. And I think the girl died within 24 hours, and the boy got polio, serious polio, for the rest of his life. I mean, the whole walking like this.
What?
And still, they decided to inject hundreds of millions of Americans, and even in Europe. I was injected with it. Thank you, Dr. Alton Ochsner. Here you get this one.
There we go.
Hell. I think I should do like this because I think he's down. Anyway, so when the CIA heard about this vaccine with their horrific minds, they thought, oh my God, that's a very aggressive virus. Let's weaponize it. And so they called together a team to weaponize a cancer virus to use it as a bioweapon, as a deadly, super deadly bioweapon against Fidel Castro was the idea. So they put Alton Ochsner, since he was the guy it was called, the virus was SV40, just like you say.
Oh my God.
And so they put together a team of the best people they had to generate this vaccine. This deadly bioweapon. And they created a series of secret laboratories in New Orleans, where they also had a atomic accelerator? No, a cell. What do you call it? It's
particle accelerator. Particle
accelerator. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. In New Orleans, and in that there were a doctor called Mary Sherman. Dr. Mary Sherman. She was in charge of the whole project. You had Jack Ruby was there, Clay Shaw was there, David Ferry, who was one of the pilots, but he was also really sharp when it came to diseases and especially cancer, because he had it as well. So I'm sure that some of these laboratories have never been found out because there was a whole circle of them. And Lee Oswald was also involved. Lee was both FBI informant, but also CIA operative, and with family connections into the mob. We're back to this strange thing. So he was like a runner between the laboratories, where he was taking the viruses. What they did was they took mice and injected them with this vaccine to get them to develop these cancer growths. Then they chopped them off, the tumors, and blended them in a mixer, bzz, 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 like that, and then injected them again. then cut this whole thing up, and then put it through radiation, because with this virus, instead of radiation being able to kill the cells, this reacted totally different. So it accelerated the growth of. So they put them through this particle accelerator, radiation or whatever, and then back into new mice inject, and every time trying to make it more and more potent. And so Lee Oswald's task was to take thermoses with this bzz, bzz, I mean, it looked like some kind of paste, like meat paste or whatever, and take it to the next laboratory where they would then amplify it with whatever, to the next one, amplify it with whatever. And it was in this whole thing where Judith Ferry Baker was recruited, but it was important for her not to understand what she was really involved in, that this was on a very high level, because she was 19, totally naive. She'd never been outdoors, more or less, never left home. So what they did was, she had just married her husband, and she came to New Orleans, and she was writing a letter to him saying, what happened, where the hell did you go? Because both of them just wanted to have sex. That was what they got married for. No
that's
love,
19.
whatever.
Yeah, just hit it, quit it.
That was it, and Judith's very open about it.
Yeah.
So anyway, she was at the post office.
Chicks love the D.
And she was gonna write a letter to, she was sending a letter to her husband saying, where the hell did you go? I'm just in New Orleans. I'm here. And she dropped the envelope, and this young guy behind her picked it up and gave it to her. And she turned around, and he was a really handsome guy, Lee Harvey Oswald. And they started. And then she said something in Russian, because she loved Russian. I think she said thank you in Russian or something like that. And he answered in Russian, which was like, whoa, because at that time, I mean, they would strap you up, lynch you if you spoke Russian in the southern part of the country, whatever. So she was like, whoa. And they started talking. And then they took a ride on the tram and became friends. I think that was absolutely. Judy still thinks that was a coincidence. I do not at all.
Yeah.
He was her controller and approached her without her understanding. And then he introduced her to the exact people in this whole Dave Ferry, Jack Ruby, Clay Shaw, Carlos Marcello, the mob chief in New Orleans. He introduced her to all of that. So she came not getting the job she thought she was getting. Instead, she was guided into this network where she was suddenly part of this whole thing through Lee Harvey Oswald. Controller. That's how they do it, so that you trust them. But what happened was they fell in love with each other. Because Lee Oswald was married to Marina. They were miserable together, but had 2 kids. And he was struggling what to do with that, just a newborn. She was miserable, newly married, with this guy they had sex, he left, boom, that's it. He came back once or twice, had sex, boom, out. So none of them were happy. And then they found each other. And this incredible love story blossomed between the 2 of them while being in this incredible situation. And then while the whole thing was developing with them creating a bioweapon, because at that point, Fidel Castro was the monster. They saw him as the devil, so Judith was totally devoted to try and kill him, to save the world. And so while all of this was happening, all of these exiled Cubans were also in the mix of this, because all of these people that were involved in this operation were also involved in a lot of gun running and all type of things, and the Bay of Pigs invasion. They were key people in that. Guy Bannister, one of them, the FBI chief in New Orleans, all of these people. And then after the Bay of Pigs disaster, when suddenly JFK was blamed for it, the cannon that was aimed at Fidel Castro got aimed at JFK. So the exact same people that were trying to take out Fidel Castro was suddenly involved in planning the assassination of JFK. And Lee Oswald found himself in the middle of the whole thing. He adored JFK. He was he loved him. And then at the same time, he was involved with these very violent individuals that were just hating JFK and were planning also. Lee Oswald overheard them talk about this and understood what was going on, and just like, holy crap, what am I going to do? So they tried to take out JFK 3 times in Miami, Chicago, and finally in Dallas. And both of the first hits were stopped, and I believe by Lee Oswald. One of them was a telex sent on the FBI telex, signed Lee, warning about the assassination. It was Lee Oswald that was doing everything he could. And then at the same time also, they were testing out this bioweapon on prisoners at a mental institution down in Clinton. This is where Oswald is being observed in Clinton together with Clay Shaw, Dave Ferry, and an unknown woman. He was down there several times. There's this unknown woman, that's Judith. And what they did without Judith's knowledge was they injected prisoners, that volunteered for, okay, you will get a pillow if you take this shot,
Yeah.
So they injected. And Judith understood that these were fatally ill patients that volunteered to do this out of patriotism. Turned out that they were totally healthy individuals that were being injected, and then they were counting the days. And in the end, they got the virus down to 29 days from injection to death. When Judith understood what they were doing, she was like, holy crap, we're killing innocent people, So she, 19-year-old, just right into the office of Alton Oshner, this icon, that everybody was like, hallelujah. He was the doctor for many of the dictators down in South America. I mean, he was among the rich and famous. And 19-year-old Judith, brave like a lion, just walked on into his office where his secretary is sitting, saying, I want to talk to Dr. Alton Oshner. And the secretary says, I'm sorry, he's not here. Can you please leave a message? So Judith wrote a note saying, I hear something like, I demand that you stop killing innocent people with this these horrible injections, these deadly injections. So the secretary, without knowing what was on the note, she pressed the button on the PA system and read out the note loud.
Oh my God.
Dr. Alton Oshner, you have to stop injecting innocent people with a deadly virus. Something like that, to that extent. So Dr. Alton Oshner came rushing down. What the hell are you doing? And he said, get out of my way. I'll kill you. I destroy you. And so Judith, she was terrified. And Dave Ferry and Jack Ruby, Lee Oswald, they were close friends. They said, listen, Judith, you need to go vanilla, as they said. Get off the radar. Forget about all type of science. You know too much. You will be taken out, So she just totally escaped to Florida. This was down in New Orleans. She escaped to Florida and just gave up science, gave up everything. She changed her name to Very Baker. Her name, she changed it so they couldn't find her. I think she even had a wig. She took a nonsense type of job. And at the same time, she was still in contact with Lee Oswald, where he was trying to stop this assassination because they knew it was the last one was going to be done in Dallas, Texas. And he was being transferred there from New Orleans to Irving, just outside Texas, together with Marina, and given a job at this Texas School Book Depository.
Unbelievable.
The reason for that, because of the assassination, the triangular fire from that building. How to blame him. So on the 29th of July, he calls Judith, 63, he calls Judith and say, my God, I know it now. I'm the one that got a nail for it. So Judith said, you need to get out. And Lee said, but what can I do? If I escape, they're going to kill Marina. They're going to kill my girls. If we escape as a family, they will so easily find us. And maybe they will kill you as well. What am I going to do? So he said, the only thing I can do and the only right thing to do is stop this thing, save the president. And from the end of July till the end of November, that was what he was totally focused on, how to infiltrate them and stop it. I mean, if that is not bravery, I do not know what is, because he was surrounded by killers, people that were torturing people for breakfast, brutal individuals, and still an infiltrator trying to stop this whole thing. So,
wow.
So Jack Ruby put a period on that sentence then, right?
So Jack Ruby, I'm a little confused about Jack Ruby's involvement in the assassination. I know that Jimmy Files drove Johnny Rosselli to Houston that morning, where Rosselli said, please cover my back. And they went into a Waffle House that is still there. It's still there in the outskirts of Houston. And Jimmy Files was there only as a bodyguard and a driver. And he saw Jack Ruby come in. He'd never seen Jack Ruby before. And they were sitting down talking a little bit, Rosselli and Ruby. And then there was this envelope that swapped hands. And afterwards, Files, they were driving back, and Files saw Rosselli open the envelope. There were these Secret Service IDs and a drawn sketch over Dealey Plaza about the new route, how they changed that route the last 24 hours to go into that deadly ambush there. So I believe that there were like two groups of the shooting teams, and the team leaders for one of them were E. Howard Hunt. That was also the money guy that from the CIA that were helping to with the money, all of that on one side. He was the guy that met up with Frank Sturgis, Marita Lorenz, the people that drove in two cars from Miami filled with weapons. They were the ones all of that threw this woman out of the car, Rose Charmaine. That was later. She's in the JFK movie saying, "You got to stop them! You got to stop! They're going to kill the president." She was later killed in a hit and drive. What do you call it? Drive by hit and run boom thing. God. Hit and run. Thank you.
I would just disappear.
I think that Jack Ruby was the head of the second major group of assassins. But I'm not totally sure. He was there in Dealey Plaza. He was at the corner of the Texas School Book Depository, and then he ran across the lawn. He jumped over, and I believe that his car was parked right on the other side of the triple underpass, on top of one of these what do you call these lids to the drain?
Storm drain.
A round lid.
A sewer lid.
A storm. Is that
manhole
a storm
cover
drain as well?
Manhole cover.
Manhole cover.
Yeah, manhole cover, exactly. I think there was a police officer that came just minutes after the shooting, and he saw a black car parked right there, and he saw Jack Ruby run down the grassy knoll on the other side of the triple underpass, throw something in the trunk, and then jump into the car and took off. I think the police officer's name was Tip Tinton or something like that. And he started chasing the car and discovered that it was Jack Ruby driving it. But I think that manhole, there was the manholes were being used, not only the storm drain, but also above the triple underpass. There was one shooter there jumping down into the manhole and then coming up under and into the Jack Ruby car. That was why it was parked there. And then he took off.
Oh my God.
I think also taking one of the guns and throwing it in the trunk and then taking off. So they spread very fast.
We only just scratched the surface, man. There's so much more that I want to go with you. When can we get you back? Next month?
Have you back on.
2 months? When are you available? When are you going to come to New York or LA anytime, huh?
You know what, Sam? He just came back from Acapulco in Cancun.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. We should we would love to do something out there too. Hey, you were wonderful, Ole. We really appreciate your time. We know that you're a sought after guest, so to spend a little time with us means the world to us. And you opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. And yeah, of course, we'd love to have you back on, and we could do this again. Is there anything you'd like to plug with our listeners? Because I know they're gonna love you.
doubt everything.
Okay, I love it. Question everything, doubt everything. I'm down with it. You were wonderful. Your ability to remember names.
I'm not finished yet. I'm not finished yet. Doubt back. Doubt everything. Don't take my word for it. Look into it yourself. Do your research. And also, like I said, my website is lightonconspiracies.com. I do a lot on Patreon as well, because that's one of the few ways I can make an income. I do I call them daylights, where I inform about what's going on, but also trying to empower people. Because my intent with digging so deeply, and I devoted such a big part of my life into uncovering these dark forces. But my intention is not to spread fear or hatred or any. My intention is to lift this world to the next beautiful level of compassion, understanding, forgiveness, and equality. But we need to look at this growth. It's like a cancer growth, like an octopus with its tentacle in more or less all main avenues of life today. Everything at this point is upside down. It doesn't make any sense because it's upside down. So whatever you're confused about, just turn it upside down and see it from that point of view. I tell you, a lot of pieces will fall to place. So if okay with you, I would very much like to end with a prayer. I'm not a religious person, but I've got this prayer that stands for what I really love. And it goes like this. May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May everyone, and especially the ones who hurt us, be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May the light of truth overcome all darkness, so victory to that light. And get me back. I'll be with you in a few weeks if you want to.
I love it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it again. You are a G. I appreciate you, Ole. Ryan, it was a pleasure to have you back on. We'll do it again sooner than later. XG, as always, I love you guys. Icon, you're the best. We will see you all soon. And thank you guys for all your love. And we'll do this again. Take care, everybody. Take care.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hat.